There is a moment in every man's life when he realizes something unsettling, a truth he feels in the marrow of his bones, a truth he never says out loud, because the moment he does, people begin to look at him differently. That truth is this: you are not like the others. You never were. And maybe you spent years trying to deny it, trying to blend in, trying to follow the crowd, trying to be normal, whatever that means. But the world never felt like home to you, did it? The conversations felt shallow, the ambitions felt borrowed, the rules felt wrong, like you were wearing a mask made for someone else. People sensed it too. They didn't know what to call it, but they felt it. Some admired you, some envied you, some feared you, but almost no one understood you. Because you weren't designed for the ordinary path. You weren't built for the collective. You weren't shaped to be just another face in the crowd. Carl Jung knew this type of man. He wrote about him in fragments: the outsider, the wanderer, the one who lives on the edge of the tribe, half in the world and half beyond it. A man chosen not by society, but by his own psyche. Chosen by the unconscious. Chosen by the shadow. Chosen by the journey toward individuation. A journey most men never dare to begin. And here's the part most people will never understand. The chosen man does not choose his loneliness. His loneliness chooses him. Because to walk the path of awakening is to walk away from the comforts of conformity, to walk away from shallow validation, to walk away from conversations that drain your intelligence, relationships that suffocate your spirit, and expectations that shrink your soul. You didn't choose solitude because you dislike people. You chose solitude because you finally realized something profound. Most people have no idea who they are. They're sleepwalking, following scripts, pretending, repeating, playing roles they never question. But you questioned everything, even when it cost you connection, even when it cost you approval, even when it made you the strange one, the intense one, the mysterious one. Jung said that the man who seeks his own soul must leave the herd, not out of arrogance, but out of necessity, because the herd moves in circles, but the chosen man moves forward, even when the path is lonely, even when he feels misunderstood, even when the nights stretch long and the world feels unbearably silent. You know that silence. It's followed you for years. Into your childhood bedroom, into your teenage confusion, into your adult ambitions, like a shadow trailing behind you, not to haunt you, but to guide you. Because there's something inside you that refuses to die, a fire you never asked for, a hunger for meaning that never lets you settle, a voice that whispers, "There is more, keep going." Even when everyone else told you to stop, to be realistic, to lower your standards, to fit in, to behave, to be predictable. But you weren't born for predictability. You were born for depth, for discovery, for truth, even when the truth isolates you. There were friendships that faded because you outgrew the conversations. Relationships that collapsed because you refused to play a role. Family members who misunderstood you because your mind wandered into territories they never dared to explore. And through it all, one pattern kept repeating. The farther you walked toward your authentic self, the more alone you became. Not rejected, not abandoned, just separate, set apart, different, awake. In a world built on imitation, authenticity is loneliness. In a world built on obedience, independence is rebellion. In a world built on noise, depth is silence. But here's the paradox Jung hinted at. The chosen man is never truly alone. He simply walks ahead of the crowd, ahead of the age, ahead of the collective. He lives at the frontier of the psyche where few dare to travel. And because so few walk there, it feels like solitude. But it's not solitude, it's altitude. The air is thinner, the path steeper, the nights colder. But the view, the clarity, the inner awakening, unmatched. Most men chase comfort. You chase truth. Most men seek approval. You seek meaning. Most men follow footsteps. You carve your own. And that journey, the journey of becoming who you really are, demands the one price society never wants a man to pay: the courage to walk alone. But the question every chosen man eventually faces is this: are you walking alone because no one understands you, or because you were meant to walk where others cannot follow? Because that difference, that subtle, haunting difference, determines the entire destiny of a chosen soul. Suppressing the man who sees too much. There is a certain kind of man, quiet, observant, almost invisible in the chaos of everyday life, who carries a sight deeper than ordinary eyes. A sight that notices what others ignore. A sight that cuts through the surface and sees the truth hiding underneath. You know this sight. You've lived with it your whole life. Even before you had a name for it. Even before you understood why it set you apart. You walk into a room and feel the tension instantly. You sense the motives behind someone's smile. You hear the insecurity beneath someone's anger. You feel the desperation behind someone's praise. You see people not as they pretend to be, but as they truly are. And that is where your loneliness begins. Because seeing too much isn't a blessing in a world addicted to masks. It's a threat. It's a disruption. It's a refusal to play the game everyone else is obsessed with. Carl Jung understood this man. He called him the one touched by the unconscious, the wanderer, the observer, the man who slips between worlds. Not because he wants to be different, but because his psyche refuses to be blind. Most people drift through. Life half asleep, numb, distracted, comfortable in their illusions. They cling to routines. They follow trends. They fill their lives with noise just to avoid the voice inside them. But you couldn't. You never could. From a young age, you sensed things others didn't. You felt the dissonance between words and actions. You saw the cracks in your family's smiles. You noticed the disappointment adults tried to hide. You questioned rules that made no sense. You observed everything, quietly, intensely, relentlessly. While other boys played, you watched. While others followed, you wondered. While others mimicked, you searched for meaning. And people noticed. Not consciously, not clearly, but they felt it. They sensed your silence had depth. They sensed your presence had weight. They sensed your eyes were not ordinary eyes. They were eyes that understood. And that made them uneasy. Because people fear what exposes them. People fear the ones who can see behind their persona. People fear anyone who doesn't participate in the collective lie. So they kept you at a distance, not aggressively, not cruelly, just subtly. A quiet rejection, a gentle exclusion, a vague discomfort. You weren't one of the boys. You weren't the loud one, or the popular one, or the one who blended easily into the noise. You were the one who watched the noise and understood why it existed. And nothing isolates a man faster than understanding. As you grew older, the gap widened. Your interests shifted toward ideas others found too heavy. Your questions made people uncomfortable. Your standards made you difficult. Your insight made you intense. You weren't trying to be superior. You weren't trying to be mysterious. You weren't trying to stand out. You were simply being yourself. A man who sees too deeply to live shallowly. But here's the paradox of such a man. The more you understand people, the harder it becomes to connect with them. You see their wounds. You see their patterns. You see their projections. You see their traumas acting out like shadows behind their eyes. You see how much of what people call personality is just unhealed pain wearing a mask. It's not judgment. It's clarity. It's awareness. It's the ability to read the soul behind the skin. But people don't want to be seen that way. Not deeply, not honestly, not without their filters. They prefer shallow relationships, safe conversations, predictable roles, connections that never require them to face themselves. A chosen man doesn't know how to do that. He doesn't know how to exist on the surface. He doesn't know how to pretend he's not drowning in truth. So he walks alone. Not because he cannot love, not because he dislikes people, not because he's antisocial. He walks alone because he cannot lie to himself the way others lie to themselves. He cannot force himself into spaces that drain his depth. He cannot entertain people who fear their own reflection. He cannot shrink his mind for the comfort of those who resist awareness. Loneliness becomes less of a curse and more of a filter, a boundary, a sanctuary, because solitude is where he can breathe. Solitude is where he can hear himself. Solitude is where his mind stops fighting the noise of others and starts listening to the voice within. And here's the hidden truth Jung hinted at. The chosen man often isolates himself not because he feels superior, but because his psyche is preparing him for a life that requires inner strength, preparing him for growth that others cannot follow, preparing him to become someone others will someday need, even if they ignore him now. The man who sees too much cannot live an ordinary life. His path will always bend away from the crowd. His instincts will pull him toward the unknown. His soul will drag him into depths most people avoid until their dying breath. This isn't arrogance, it's destiny, it's psychology. It's the natural consequence of a mind that refuses to sleep. But the hardest part? The part no one warns you about? The more awakened you become, the more alone you feel. Until you realize that the loneliness was not a punishment, but a passage into a different version of yourself, a deeper one, a truer one. A man who walks alone because he is no longer willing to walk in the wrong direction. And when you finally reach that understanding, that sacred, painful clarity, you stop asking, "Why am I alone?" and begin asking, "What part of me was waiting to emerge once the noise finally fell away?" Because the loneliness of the chosen man is not emptiness. It is transformation. It is the silence before the real self speaks. It is the darkness before the inner fire ignites. It is the space where the boy ends and the man begins. A man who sees too much will always walk a different road. But that road, as lonely as it feels, leads him to the one place everyone else avoids: his own soul. The burden of depth in a shallow world. There is a pain that intelligent, self-aware men rarely speak about. A pain that hides beneath their calm expressions. A pain that follows them like a silent ghost that only they can feel. It is the pain of depth in a world addicted to shallow things. From the outside, you look composed, controlled, unbothered. A man who doesn't chase, doesn't cling, doesn't beg for validation. But inside? Inside, you're carrying an internal world that would overwhelm most people. Thoughts layered like ancient ruins, emotions that cut like knives, memories that refuse to soften, questions that haunt you at 3 a.m., visions of the life you could live and the man you could become if only the world around you matched your inner intensity. But it doesn't. It never did. And that mismatch, that violent gap between who you are and what the world offers, creates a loneliness so profound you learn to swallow it in silence. People call you too intense, too serious, too thoughtful, as if depth is a disease and you're the only one who caught it. But Jung would disagree. He would say that your depth is a sign of individuation, a sign that your psyche refuses to stay trapped in the collective mediocrity that comforts the masses. Most people live horizontally, flat, predictable, repetitive lives, constantly moving but never sinking, constantly talking but never feeling, constantly connecting but never knowing each other. But you live vertically, downward, inward, deeper. You descend into yourself the way others descend into entertainment. You search your mind the way others scroll their screens. Your solitude is not emptiness, it is excavation. Every day you dig a little further into your motives, your wounds, your values, your patterns, your shadow. This inner excavation makes you different. It makes you difficult. It makes you unavoidably alone. Because when you develop depth, you stop being able to tolerate superficiality. Shallow conversations feel like noise. Small talk feels like sandpaper against your brain. Empty relationships feel suffocating. Fake friendships feel poisonous. Performative socializing feels like betrayal to your own soul. And people sense it. They sense you're not entertained by the things that entertain them. They sense you're not soothed by the distractions that soothe them. They sense that your silence isn't awkward, it's intentional. This intimidates them. This confuses them. This makes them avoid you long before you ever choose to avoid them. They don't know what to do with a man who cannot be manipulated by social pressure, who doesn't chase approval, who doesn't need the tribe to feel whole, who doesn't fear being alone with his own thoughts. A man with depth is ungovernable. A man with depth is unpredictable. A man with depth is uncontrollable. And that threatens the entire social order. Jung wrote that the individual who becomes conscious must inevitably separate from the collective. The more conscious he becomes, the less he can participate in its illusions. That separation is not a choice. It is a psychological necessity. And that necessity hurts. Because the deeper you go, the fewer people can follow. Not because they don't want to, but because they simply can't. They lack the psychological oxygen to travel to the depths that feel natural to you. You've probably experienced this many times, in friendships, in relationships, in family conversations. Moments where you found yourself toning yourself down, shrinking your thoughts, hiding your real opinions just to avoid being misunderstood. Not to impress, not to manipulate, just to be heard by people who don't know how to listen. Eventually, you stop speaking altogether. Not out of bitterness, but out of exhaustion. It's tiring to explain depth to people who live in the shallow. End of the psyche. But the silence they interpret as coldness is actually protection for both you and them. Because here's the truth Jung hinted at. Your depth exposes their shallowness. Your awareness exposes their denial. Your quiet exposes their insecurity. Your authenticity exposes their persona. You never meant to threaten them, but depth always threatens the fragile. It forces them to face themselves, and most people would rather avoid themselves forever than spend 1 minute in the presence of a man who sees through their facade. So they distance themselves. They label you. They misunderstand you. They tell others you're difficult, complicated, strange, emotionally unavailable. But none of those descriptions are true. They're translations, simplified interpretations of a man whose inner world is too vast for surface-level minds to grasp. Your isolation is not a flaw. It is a symptom, a consequence, a psychological outcome of a man who refuses to suffocate in shallow water. Most men fear being alone because they fear themselves. They fear their thoughts. They fear their shadow. They fear looking inward and seeing the truth. But you confront the truth nightly. You descend into parts of yourself others spend entire lifetimes avoiding. That descent, that inner pilgrimage, creates a kind of solitude that is not loneliness, but distance. Distance from illusion. Distance from imitation. Distance from people who fear depth. Distance from everything that dilutes you. Depth becomes your compass, your refuge, your weapon, your curse, your calling. And slowly, quietly, inevitably, you begin to realize something. You were never meant for the shallow world. You were meant to disturb it, expose it, rise above it. But to rise above something, you must first rise away from it. That distance, that separation, is why a chosen man walks alone. Not because he is unwanted, not because he is unlovable, but because the world he's walking toward is not the same world everyone else is living in. You are not behind. You are ahead. You are not isolated. You are elevated. You are not lost. You are becoming. And the burden of depth is simply the first stage of the transformation to come. The war between the man you are and the world that wants you small. There is a quiet war inside every chosen man, a war he rarely talks about, a war he rarely admits, a war between two powerful forces, the man he truly is and the world that keeps trying to make him smaller. You've felt this war your whole life. It shows up as pressure, as expectation, as subtle guilt, as invisible chains wrapped around your mind. From childhood, you were told to play along, to be agreeable, to be predictable, to be digestible, to fit neatly into the roles handed to you. But something inside you, something ancient, something fierce, something stubborn, refused. You were not meant to be easily controlled. You were not meant to be easily molded. You were not meant to be the compliant one who follows the path laid out by others. You were meant to question, to deviate, to rebel on a psychological level, not out of arrogance, but out of necessity. Jung believed that the greatest danger to a man's soul is conformity. When a man trades his individuality for acceptance, approval, or comfort, he loses the very essence that makes him alive. And you were never able to make that trade, even when it cost you connection, even when it cost you peace, even when it made you the difficult one, the intense one, the unpredictable one. Because conformity felt like death. It tasted like suffocation. It pulled you away from yourself and disguised it as belonging. But you saw through it, even when you were young, even when you didn't know what to call it. You noticed how easily others surrendered, how easily they played roles, how quickly they abandoned their dreams to imitate the dreams of the crowd. You watched men silence their truth just to fit in. You watched them trade authenticity for acceptance. You watched them shrink their voice just to avoid standing alone. You couldn't do that. Your soul wouldn't let you. And that refusal, that psychological integrity, is what made you the outsider. Not because you were flawed, but because the world has no idea what to do with a man who refuses to obey. The world wants your potential, but only if it can control it. The world wants your strength, but only if it can tame it. The world wants your intelligence, but only if it can use it. The chosen man sees this dynamic long before he has the vocabulary for it. He senses the manipulation. He senses the pressure to shrink. He senses the silent demand to fall in line. And something primal inside him rebels, quietly, instinctively, without planning, without apology. Because a man connected to his inner world cannot be domesticated, not fully, not permanently, not without losing his soul. And here's the part most men never understand. Your solitude is not the result of your rebellion. Your rebellion is the result of your solitude. You walk alone because you refuse to betray yourself, and that refusal, that inner loyalty, creates friction with everyone who benefits from your compliance. Maybe you felt it in your family. Every time you questioned their rules, every time you wanted reasons instead of orders, every time you refused to pretend things were fine when they clearly weren't. You weren't disobedient. You were aware. You saw the emotional patterns. You noticed the contradictions. You sensed the hypocrisy. Your mind was not built to obey blindly. It was built to understand deeply. And people feared that. They still do. Because awareness is the enemy of control. Understanding is the enemy of manipulation. Depth is the enemy of conformity. Later, you felt it in school. You didn't fit the mold, not because you couldn't, but because you didn't want to. The rules felt arbitrary. The structure felt shallow. The conversations felt empty. While others memorized, you questioned. While others obeyed, you resisted. While others accepted, you wondered why. Teachers called you unfocused, but you were never unfocused. You were unengaged. There's a difference. Your mind wasn't wandering, it was searching for something real, something meaningful, something that aligned with the fire inside you. That same fire followed you into adulthood, burning, guiding, separating. It showed up in relationships. You couldn't pretend. You couldn't fake interest. You couldn't play emotional games. You couldn't be someone's distraction or project. You needed depth, honesty, intensity, connection that felt alive. Most people weren't ready for that. Not because they were bad, but because they were unprepared. Your presence exposed their emptiness. Your clarity exposed their confusion. Your standards exposed their compromises. And again, you walked alone. Not rejected, but unmatched. Not abandoned, but elevated beyond the emotional level of those around you. Jung wrote that the man on the path of individuation must walk through the desert of isolation before he finds his tribe, before he finds his purpose, before he finds the people who speak the same psychological language. This desert is where you are forged. This desert is where your strength is born. This desert is where your character sharpens. This desert is where your soul expands. But the world misunderstands this solitude. They think a man walking alone is lost. They think he is broken. They think he is incomplete. They think he is avoiding life. But the opposite is true. A chosen man walks alone because he refuses to avoid his life. He refuses to avoid his shadow. He refuses to avoid his potential. He refuses to avoid the truth burning inside him. He knows that the path to becoming himself cannot be shared. Not yet. Not until he emerges on the other side, fully formed, fully awake, fully sovereign. This is the war inside him. The war between the pressure to belong and the instinct to break free. Most men surrender to the pressure. They disappear into the collective. They lose themselves in conformity. They shrink until their soul becomes a whisper. But you didn't. You couldn't. Your inner world was too loud to silence. Your intuition was too sharp to ignore. Your hunger for meaning was too strong to suppress. And so, slowly, painfully, inevitably, you stepped away from the world that kept trying to make you small. You didn't announce it. You didn't dramatize it. You didn't explain it. You simply walked your own way. And in that quiet rebellion, in that silent departure, you became something rare. A self-directed man in a world full of externally controlled minds. But the question that remains, the question that shapes every chosen man, is this: if the world no longer has the power to define you, who are you becoming? Because the answer to that question is the beginning of the next stage of your path. The solitude that transforms a man into his true self. There comes a moment in a chosen man's life when the silence he once feared becomes the silence he now seeks. It creeps in slowly, without announcement, without drama, without any grand revelation. One day you simply realize that the world around you no longer holds the same weight. The noise no longer seduces you. The distractions no longer control you. The people who once shaped your identity no longer have the power to pull you away from yourself. And in that shift, quiet but unmistakable, you understand what solitude was trying to do to you all along. You begin to recognize that your loneliness was never punishment. It was preparation. It was the psyche carving out a space inside you that others were never meant to occupy. It was stripping away the voices you borrowed so you could finally hear the one voice that mattered, your own. The chosen man's path always narrows until only he can walk it. No entourage, no audience, no approval. Just him and the truth he can no longer avoid. In this solitude, something ancient begins to stir. You start questioning who you've been all this time. Were you living as yourself? Or were you living as the version of you the world demanded? Were your values authentic, or were they inherited? Were your ambitions yours? Or were they expectations planted in your mind before you even understood what desire truly meant? These questions rise like shadows, uninvited but necessary, and they pull you into depths you once avoided. And here, in this quiet inner descent, you begin shedding identities like old skins. The roles you once played, because you had to, because life forced them onto you, start to fall away. The strong one, the dependable one, the quiet one, the mature one, the responsible one, the unbreakable one. You wore them for survival, not because they were ever your essence. In solitude, you peel them off, one by one, until the man beneath them finally takes form. Raw, unprotected, honest, and real. At first, it feels uncomfortable, vulnerable, exposed. You're meeting yourself without armor for the first time. But slowly, you begin to understand that this version of you, the one without masks, without roles, without the weight of other people's expectations, is the man you were supposed to meet all along. Not the boy shaped by external pressure, not the persona shaped by fear, but the real self the psyche has been pushing you toward for years. And once you meet him, once you feel the gravity of your own authenticity, you cannot go back. Solitude deepens, and it stops feeling like emptiness. It starts feeling like alignment. You begin noticing what truly resonates with you. The way certain passions feel alive in your chest, while others feel hollow and forced. The way certain paths call to you quietly, while others feel like cages disguised as opportunities. The way certain ambitions were yours, while others were simply borrowed from a culture obsessed with imitation. Purpose does not arrive like thunder. It comes quietly, like a whisper you have ignored your entire life. A pull, a direction, a sensation that what you're meant to do is not something the world taught you, but something your soul always knew. Solitude reveals this. It burns away the fog. It clears the noise. It sharpens every instinct you tried to suppress. And suddenly, you begin to see your life not as a series of accidents, but as a design. Your design, waiting to be lived fully. Once you feel that pull of purpose, everything begins to shift. The wrong people fall away. The wrong desires evaporate. The wrong environments become intolerable. Not because you're bitter, not because you're angry, but because the man you're becoming no longer fits into the life you outgrew. What once felt comfortable now feels suffocating. What once felt exciting now feels meaningless. What once felt like belonging now feels like betrayal to your own soul. Solitude strengthens you in ways the world never could. The world teaches men to measure strength by dominance, arrogance, aggression. But solitude reveals strength as something quieter. The strength to sit with your own mind without running from it. The strength to face your wounds without numbing them. The strength to confront your shadow without collapsing under its weight. The strength to hold yourself together without an audience watching. Most men avoid this kind of strength because it demands honesty. They fear being alone because they fear the truths that rise in silence. They fear looking inward because they fear what they'll find. But the chosen man does not run from this confrontation. He steps further into it, willingly or unwillingly, because something inside him refuses to live on the surface anymore. In the quiet, he learns to endure. He learns emotional discipline. He learns self-trust. He learns clarity. He learns the difference between who he pretended to be and who he actually is. He learns that nothing external can save him, fix him, validate him, or define him. He learns that strength built in solitude is strength no one can take away. A chosen man eventually sees that his isolation is not a sign of failure, it is a sign of evolution. It is the psyche moving him away from the collective unconscious and pulling him closer to his own inner world. It is the soul guiding him toward independence, sovereignty, authenticity. It is the beginning of a destiny only he can fulfill. And then comes the most profound realization of all. You were never meant to walk with the majority. You were never meant to blend into the noise. You were never meant to dilute yourself to match the world. Your path diverged the moment you became conscious. Your path narrowed the moment you refused to betray yourself. Your path darkened so you could see the light inside you more clearly. You begin to understand why certain relationships fell apart, why certain friendships faded, why certain environments suffocated you, why certain crowds never felt like home. Not because something was wrong with you, but because the man you were becoming was never meant to stay in places that demanded he remain small. The solitude you once resisted is now the solitude shaping your identity. It is not isolation, it is elevation. It is not abandonment, it is alignment. It is not emptiness, it is expansion. You walk alone because you were never meant to be a follower. You walk alone because the path you're creating did not exist before you stepped onto it. You walk alone because your truth is too heavy for most people to carry. You walk alone because your authenticity cannot survive in imitation. You walk alone because the world you're growing into is not the world everyone else is living in. And when you finally accept that, fully, deeply, fearlessly, your solitude stops being a wound and becomes your strength, your companion, your forge, your liberation. A chosen man walks alone not because he has no one, but because he finally has himself. The destiny that demands you walk alone. There comes a point in a chosen man's journey when he realizes that everything he thought was happening to him was actually happening for him. The loneliness, the misunderstandings, the rejections, the departures, the quiet seasons, the nights spent questioning his own worth, the mornings spent rebuilding his identity one thought at a time. All of it wasn't punishment. It was alignment. It was preparation. It was destiny unfolding in ways he wasn't ready to understand when he was younger. You look back at your life and begin to see patterns instead of pain, lessons instead of losses, evolution instead of breakdowns. You trace the arc of your story and realize that every time you tried to blend in, life forced you back out. Every time you tried to follow the path everyone else walked, something inside you snapped, pulled you away, rerouted you. Every time you attempted to silence the voice inside you for the sake of belonging, your soul responded with restlessness, dissatisfaction, and a haunting sense that you were betraying something sacred. Destiny does not whisper politely. It disrupts. It disturbs. It destroys everything that is not meant for you. Your life has been filled with those destructions, moments when everything familiar fell apart, not because you failed, but because the version of you living in that life was no longer allowed to survive. The man you were becoming needed space, needed silence, needed distance from the noise that kept him asleep. And so your destiny separated you from the world long before you understood why. You weren't just excluded, you were extracted. Pulled away from situations that would have limited you. Pulled away from people who would have kept you small. Pulled away from environments that could not contain your potential. You didn't lose people. People lost access to the man you were evolving into. And this is where the destiny of a chosen man takes shape. Not in comfort, but in confrontation. Not in celebration, but in solitude. Not in belonging, but in estrangement. You were never meant to be just another person in the crowd. You were meant to rise above the patterns that rule the crowd. You were meant to see through illusions the crowd depends on. You were meant to question the rules the crowd never examines. This kind of destiny cannot be lived until a man becomes strong enough to stand alone. Most men never reach this stage because they avoid the silence where destiny speaks. They drown themselves in distraction. They cling to relationships that demand nothing of them. They repeat the same patterns because the patterns feel safe. They never step away long enough to hear the truth inside them. But you were pulled away, dragged away, separated by force, if not by choice. At first, the solitude felt like exile, something you endured, something you resented, something you questioned. But slowly, as you walked deeper into your own mind, you realized something profound. Solitude wasn't keeping you away from life. Solitude was preparing you for the life you were meant to live. You began to see the difference between being alone and being aligned, between being isolated and being initiated, between being forgotten and being chosen. And once that realization took root, everything changed. You stopped seeing yourself as the misfit. You started seeing yourself as the outlier. You stopped seeing yourself as the outsider. You started seeing yourself as the one who walked ahead. You stopped seeing yourself as the one who didn't belong. You started seeing yourself as the one who refused to settle. Destiny demands this perspective. It demands vision. It demands self-honesty. It demands the courage to walk a path that rarely has footsteps ahead of it. Most people navigate life by following trails others carved. You were chosen to carve your own. That is why your path never matched anyone else's. That is why your timing never fit the world's schedule. That is why the things that satisfied them never satisfied you. That is why the dreams that fulfill them leave you feeling empty. You were not built for the ordinary arc. You were built for something sharper, deeper, higher. And the world senses it. They may not understand you, but they feel your difference. Your presence disrupts their predictability. Your silence exposes their insecurities. Your conviction reveals their compromises. Your refusal to shrink makes them question why they ever did. People claim they want a man who stands alone, but the truth is, they fear him. Because a man who belongs to himself can never belong to their control. A man who is guided internally can never be manipulated externally. A man who knows his purpose can never be redirected by someone else's agenda. This is why your destiny required solitude, so that your strength would come from within, not from approval, so that your identity would be shaped by self-awareness, not social pressure, so that your truth would be forged in silence, not borrowed from the noise. In the solitude of a chosen man, something extraordinary begins to happen. You stop needing the world. Not out of arrogance, but out of clarity. You no longer chase validation because you have validated yourself. You no longer seek approval because you approve of your own path. You no longer cling to people who misunderstand you because you've learned to understand yourself. This kind of independence terrifies the world, because most people cannot imagine living without the emotional crowd. They cannot imagine thinking without agreement. They cannot imagine choosing without permission. But destiny does not care about the limits of ordinary minds. It cares only about whether you are willing to step into the life meant for you. And stepping into that life means accepting one truth. You will walk alone until you become the man your destiny requires. And once you become him, once you embody that deeper self, once you rise fully into your strength, something unexpected happens. You begin attracting people who can walk beside the man you actually are. Not the man you pretended to be. Not the man the world wanted you to be. Not the man hidden under fear and compromise. But the man forged in solitude. The man sharpened by silence. The man anchored in purpose. The man who has mastered himself. These people, few but powerful, form the circle a chosen man actually needs. Souls who have done their own inner work. Souls who understand the need for space, depth, honesty. Souls who cannot be intimidated by intensity. Souls who rise in your presence instead of shrinking. But you will never meet them until you finish becoming the man you were meant to be. Destiny waits for no one. It opens when you are ready. It moves when you move. It speaks when you are silent enough to hear it. And now, after everything you've endured, everything you've questioned, everything you've broken through, you stand on the edge of your real life. A life where you no longer fear walking alone. A life where solitude is a weapon, not a wound. A life where purpose is louder than doubt. A life where you finally understand why you were different. A life where you no longer run from your own identity. A life where your destiny is not an idea, but a reality waiting for your next step. 30 is a moment in a man's life when he stands at the threshold between who he used to be and who he is becoming. It does not arrive with celebration. It does not come with applause or recognition. It appears quietly, like an old friend returning after years of absence. A presence, faint at first but undeniable. Something inside you shifts. Something inside you speaks. Something inside you awakens. You look around at the life you once lived and notice how strange it feels now. The rooms feel smaller. The voices feel distant. The faces feel unfamiliar. The routines feel meaningless. The expectations feel intolerable. Everything that once held you together now feels like a cage built from your own past. The version of you that once walked through these places has disappeared, dissolved, transformed. You feel heavier, but in a grounding way. You feel lighter, but in a freeing way. You feel alone, yet more connected to your own soul than ever. This is the phase Jung believed every awakened man must confront. The crossing. The transition from the borrowed self to the authentic self. A dangerous crossing. A lonely crossing. A crossing that demands you step away from every identity the world placed on your shoulders and step toward the identity your soul has been whispering to you since childhood. It is not easy. It is not peaceful. It is not kind. Evolution is never gentle. Transformation rarely feels like transformation while it is happening. It feels like loss, like confusion, like disorientation, like death. You begin to wonder if you are losing your mind, or simply losing the mind that was never yours to begin with. Because when a man begins to awaken, he does not feel enlightened. He feels dismantled. You feel the weight of old wounds resurfacing. You feel the pull of old expectations trying to drag you back. You feel the voices of people who preferred the smaller version of you. You feel the fear of stepping into a life without the familiar boundaries that once held you in place. But beneath the chaos, beneath the noise, beneath the unraveling, something else emerges. Clarity. A clarity so sharp it cuts through years of illusion. A clarity that shows you exactly who you've been, who you've become, and who you are meant to be. A clarity that cannot be ignored, reversed, or undone. Solitude sharpens you to this clarity. The silence you once avoided becomes the silence that guides you. The moments alone that once frightened you now feel sacred, like rituals of self-discovery. You begin to hear your own thoughts without interference. You begin to feel your emotions without apology. You begin to understand your desires without guilt. You begin to see your potential without denial. The world cannot follow you here. People cannot follow you here. Only the parts of yourself you once abandoned come to walk beside you. You start to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. You start to reclaim the ambitions you buried to make others comfortable. You start to build a new spine, one made not of fear, but of self-respect. You start to realize that the version of you who walked alone in the beginning was not broken. He was simply unfinished. And this is where the transformation deepens. When you stop seeing solitude as a punishment and start seeing it as your greatest ally. Loneliness becomes a teacher, not a tormentor. Isolation becomes a container, not a coffin. Silence becomes a mirror, not a void. You begin to shape yourself in ways you never could when you were surrounded by people who expected you to stay small. The first thing you reclaim is your voice. The voice you muted countless times to keep the peace. The voice you twisted to fit into conversations that never nourished you. The voice you silenced to avoid conflict. That voice returns. Deeper, slower, more grounded. A voice that speaks from conviction, not fear. From truth, not imitation. Then, you reclaim your boundaries. Not the walls you built out of pain, but the borders that protect your energy, your purpose, your inner world. You begin saying no with a steady heart. You begin choosing yourself without apology. You begin walking away from people who drain you, confuse you, misunderstand you, or limit you. You begin valuing your time, your peace, your presence. You become selective, not out of arrogance, but out of self-preservation. You reclaim your ambition next. The ambition that was once buried under other people's expectations. The ambition that made you feel strange, different, intense. The ambition that set you apart when you were young. It rises again, stronger this time, because now it is rooted in identity, not insecurity. You begin planning your life around your talents instead of your fears. You begin embracing the dreams that once scared you because they were too big for the version of you that existed then. Now, they fit. And then comes the darkest stage, the confrontation with your shadow, the parts of you you rejected, the parts of you you feared, the parts of you you never allowed to breathe. Solitude forces you to sit with them, to see your anger, to feel your grief, to understand your patterns, to acknowledge your projections, to recognize how much of your life was shaped by wounds you never addressed. It is uncomfortable, it is painful, it is brutal, but it is also liberating. Because the shadow does not come to destroy you, it comes to free you. Every fear you face in solitude becomes a strength. Every insecurity you uncover becomes awareness. Every wound you examine becomes wisdom. Every weakness you acknowledge becomes clarity. The shadow becomes a guide once you stop running from it. And when this transformation reaches its peak, when you have walked through silence, through fear, through loss, through reflection, a new man begins to appear. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but undeniably. He stands differently. He speaks differently. He thinks differently. He moves differently. He chooses differently. He lives differently. This new man is not shaped by the world. He is shaped by consciousness. He is shaped by the work he did when no one was watching. He is shaped by the nights spent questioning everything he thought he knew. He is shaped by the inner battles he fought alone. He is shaped by the courage to walk away when everyone else stayed. He is shaped by the strength to hold on to himself when the world tried to tear him apart. This new man is not perfect. He is not above struggle. He is not free from pain. But he is sovereign. He belongs to himself now. His mind is his own. His heart is his own. His purpose is his own. His identity is his own. He walks alone, not because he must, but because he chooses to. Not because he fears connection, but because he understands that real connection can only happen after a man connects with himself. Not because he rejects others, but because he refuses to reject himself again. He knows that solitude is not the absence of people, it is the presence of self. He knows that walking alone is not a curse, it is a rite of passage. He knows that being different is not a flaw, it is a calling. He knows that awakening does not create loneliness, it reveals the loneliness that was hiding beneath all the noise. This is your transformation. This is your evolution. This is your return to the man you were always meant to become. And now, after everything you've survived, everything you've shed, everything you've awakened to, you stand at a new threshold, a new beginning, a new identity, a new life. The world may not understand the man you are now. People may question your solitude. They may misunderstand your distance. They may misinterpret your standards. They may label you cold, detached, mysterious. But none of that matters anymore, because you know the truth. You know why you walk the way you walk. You know why you no longer bend. You know why you no longer chase. You know why you no longer explain. You know why you no longer shrink. You know who you are. And that knowledge is worth every mile of solitude you endured. So now, let me ask you the one question that remains. The question that determines everything from this moment forward. Now that you finally have yourself, who are you ready to become?